How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video here on Brass Bang, and today we're talking about this right here. This is my custom Glock 43X build. We did another video on this gun previously, but today I want to focus on this right here. This is the True Precision Glock 43X slide. I want to give my thoughts and opinions on it after putting it through some use and give you some pros and cons to think about if you're considering getting this slide or any other custom slide for your Glock handgun. So stick around for the video. Let's get it started. So as I mentioned in my previous video, the reason I was considering any aftermarket slide for my Glock 43X was because I wanted to put a red dot on it. Mine was not an MOS version, so it did not have a red dot optic cut on it already. So my options at that point were to either send my Glock slide off to be milled and cut for the optic that I wanted to put on it, or buy an aftermarket slide that was already cut like this one here. And my reasoning for not wanting to do the first option was I didn't want to have to send my gun off and be without it for a period of time. I know some of the turnarounds are quick, like a week or 2 weeks, but they can be as much as a month or more, and I didn't want to go without a gun for really any period of time. So I've been keeping my eye out for a custom Glock 43X slide that had already been cut for the optic that I want to put on it, which was the Holosun 407K. When my local store got in one of these True Precision slides for the Glock 43 or 43X, I immediately headed down there and picked this one up right here. Now, first impressions, obviously it looks cool, it looks badass. It's got these cuts on it, it's got some milling done, it has some ports on the sides and a port on the top, and it all looks really cool, of course. That's all fine and dandy, but as I mentioned, the real reason I wanted it was to put the optic on there. So it's not an aesthetic thing for me, even though it does obviously look good as well. So I went ahead and mounted the Holosun 407K onto this pistol here. And just to note, if any of you are interested in the Holosun 407K or 507K, the screws that Holosun sends you along with the optic do not always fit perfectly in some of these slides. For example, with this slide here, the screws were too long. I could have gone out and bought some shorter screws potentially, or contacted Holosun about the situation, but went ahead and did my little DIY thing at home here, and I took a Dremel and sanded down, filed down those screws about 2 threads to make them fit flush into this slide here. So now we have this optic mounted with these screws that Holosun had sent me, so I didn't have to worry about anything else. And it works just fine now. So long story short, I accomplished my goal. I was able to mount an optic for a red dot on my Glock 43X that I have here. But what are some of the pros and cons that I've noticed after shooting this from having this aftermarket slide with the ports? Is it faster? Is it less recoil, etc.? Let's dive into that. I do have to say, I think I might have noticed a very, very slight difference in the recoil that I've felt when shooting this versus the standard stock slide that came on this Glock 43X. And it's not as pronounced. Some people are going to rave about the differences when you have the ported slide, what it's going to do for your recoil management, and the felt recoil that you get when you shoot it. And for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was very minor. It was maybe noticeable a little bit, but nothing huge, nothing to write home about. Beyond that, being that it is a little bit lighter of a slide, I have found that it's a little bit easier to rack the slide, press check, etc., just because it doesn't weigh as much. There's not as much tension, and it's not as heavy as the previous slides. So it does make it a little bit easier if you're in a hurry, you're in a rush, trying to rack the slide. The fact that it's a little bit lighter allows you to do it a little bit quicker and easier, but once again, nothing crazy, nothing huge to write home about. As far as durability and reliability, I was a little bit worried because I know that when you have a lighter slide, that can affect how the gun cycles. When you fire around, the slide comes back, and I was worried it would mess up with the timing, and I might start having some failure to eject or failure to feed issues with the slide. And I did at first. The first couple times I was shooting this, I actually was getting some failures, and I was kind of confused because I wasn't sure if it was a really, really hot day outside, and I wasn't sure if it had something to do with that. The gun itself and the ammo was very, very, very hot to the touch, so I wasn't sure if that had something to do with it. But I realized what was going on, and it's not a fault of the slide at all. What it was is with this Glock 43X, being that it's so small, my hands kind of just encompass a large percentage of the gun when I grab it and when I'm shooting it. And sometimes when I go to do a quick draw and press out, my support hand thumb ends up riding on top of the slide like this. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. Instead of having it down here on the frame, sometimes it rides up a little bit on the slide. And one thing you have to be aware of is with a lighter slide, it doesn't weigh as much, so there's not as much oomph moving it forward and back as it previously was. Because it's lighter, my thumb being up there does sometimes have enough friction to press into it to stop the slide from cycling back forward. So I was having these failures to feed after shooting a round. The round would fire, the slide would start to come back forward, and it wouldn't go all the way forward to press the round into the chamber because my thumb was holding the slide, essentially thereby blocking it and preventing it from doing so. And some of the time with this, I could just give it a little tap on the back and it would push the round in the chamber. Other times I had to fully rack the slide to fix the problem. And although this did happen the first time I went out shooting this, the time after that and the time after that and the time after that, when I was shooting this, I wasn't having any issues at all with the failure to feed, because I realized I need to be a little more careful with that and keep my thumb a little bit lower to make sure it's only on the frame. And that's gonna be the biggest and only real con that I can give to this slide right here, is that when you're shooting it, you just need to be aware, if you were like me, and you can kind of get away with having your thumb riding the slide on a standard stock Glock. When you go to one of these lighter aftermarket slides, you may not still be able to get away with that same thing, and you might start having some issues like I was, so you just need to be aware of that, be cognizant of it. And if you are having that issue, try lowering your thumb just a little bit onto the frame, and you shouldn't have that issue anymore. Now back to the reliability of the slide. Once I figured that situation out, I had no more issues with this. It was running flawlessly, just like a stock Glock should and would, and I have no further things to complain about or take note of. This slide is very well made, it's solid, it's durable, it's well constructed, it has these ports if you like that kind of thing, it looks good, it looks cool, it looks badass, and it has the optics cut as well, which gives you that ability to mount an optic on your gun if that's something you were looking to do. And that brings me to my final notes, final verdict on this slide right here. If you are someone who wants to mount a red dot optic on your gun and you don't currently have an MOS version that is already cut for an optic, I think going with something like this is a great way to go. It gets you that slide that's already cut, and it has the appearance factors as well. But if you are not doing that and you're someone who plans on sticking with the iron sights, you just want to get something like this for the appearance factor, I don't necessarily think it's worth the money. It's a couple $100s to buy this, and I think that money is way better spent on ammo and training and all those other things versus spending that few $100s just to get the appearance factors alone. The recoil differences, as I mentioned, is very negligible, it's very minor, so don't get it for that purpose alone. If you are only wanting it for the aesthetics and the recoil management, I would say avoid this and just stick with your stock Glock and spend that money elsewhere. But if you want to mount the red dot, go for it. This is a solid option. So that's all for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I forgot to mention very briefly, I have no affiliations with the brand True Precision. I bought this slide with my own money and they have no idea that I'm making this video. So there are no affiliations there to be spoken of, and this is my own verdict and my own opinion that I have come to. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below and leave a comment letting me know your thoughts. Have you tried putting aftermarket slides on your Glocks, and what has your experience been doing that? Have they had issues, or have they been running just as flawlessly and smoothly as your stock Glocks have? Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this going forward. We are dropping videos every single Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and I hope you guys stick around to see more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.